All right, so this is just going to be my take on the Bill of Rights and why I actually have where like how that came about. There's a lot of guys who are a lot smarter than me and have spent their entire lives studying the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of the Confederacy, the Federalist Papers, all these like great important documents. I was introduced to the Bill of Rights in a more practical manner, and and so I don't really look at it from a philosophical point of view at all. Like these aren't just some lofty, you know, words on paper to me. I also don't believe that in them as like an American thing. I believe that in them as a human thing. Like if you draw a breath, then you have certain rights, and your government should deal with you in a certain way. Like your interaction with your government should be, dictated by certain, you know, ideals. And I think that's what the Bill of Rights, to me, that's what the Bill of Rights is. And I didn't learn about it really in school, honestly. I mean, I grew up being a patriot. I grew up, um, you know, uh, looking up to the flag and admiring the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and I didn't even know what was in it. I didn't learn really what was in the Bill of Rights until my early 20s. And, everyone knows the big things. They know freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right to bear arms. Uh, but they don't know that there's a whole slew of things in there that were important and become very important when dealing with your government. And a lot of people don't ever have to really do that. And so it never really affects them, and they never take anything more than like a philosophical stance on the Bill of Rights. I look at it as in a very practical manner. Um, and something that is not um, just words on paper, but needs to and should govern um, how you interact with your government. Um, so for the younger generation that has no clue what the Bill of Rights says, it basically allows you, um, or it doesn't allow you, but it basically puts down in words certain fundamental rights that you have just by the virtue of being born. Um, you have the right to free speech, you have the right to practice whatever religion you want, you have the right to peacefully assemble, you have the right to grievance your government, you have the right to bear arms, you have the right to protect yourself. The government has no right to come in and set up shop in your home. Um, that you have every right to be secure um, in your house, in your papers, in your effects. And I would think that emails and text messages were part of papers, but apparently not. Um, and you have a, a right not to be hassled with unreasonable search and seizures without some type of warrant. And the warrant kind of it starts off how the government's supposed to deal with you, and it's supposed to go through due process. And um, that's where the Fifth Amendment comes in, and it says no person shall be deprived of their life, their liberty, or their property without due process. They can't just come in and confiscate your shit, and they can't come in and kill you, um, and they can't come in and just throw you in jail without giving you some type of trial. And then that leads us to the next amendment. You have the right to a speedy public trial and a jury of your peers. So uh, you also have the right to not be treated excessively harsh or cruel or unusual, any type of unusual punishment. So, these aren't things that Americans should have. These are things um, that all people should have, and all governments um, should kind of deal with their people that way. And it was, I I wasn't really introduced to the idea of that it was a people thing and not an American thing, or that it was a practical thing and not like a um, philosophical, just arbitrary words on paper, just to some document that shouldn't apply to our day to day lives. Because I think it really comes down to a day to day thing, and it's weird because all through the history of our nation, we've struggled. We came up with these great ideas, and said we are gonna implement a government unlike anything else, that is going to give the most civil liberties possible, without creating chaos. And it wasn't perfect, and every generation's had to struggle to maintain and advance those liberties. And it's weird. The other day I was sitting there and I was thinking, why me, man? Why do I have to be, in my 30s, and have a young child in a time where we're backsliding on that, where we are sliding back down this hill that we have been trying to climb for the entire history of this nation. Um, and it sucks because we can pinpoint the time this happened, and I know exactly what I was doing. Um, it was September 11th, 2001, and I was standing at parade rest in the hallway of the barracks, waiting to get my room inspected, and someone yells down the hall that a plane had hit the Twin Towers. So what do? I sneak back in the room, I turn the TV on real quick, and realize that it was not a Cessna or something like that, that this was like a jetliner. So I'm standing there dumbfounded. Um, and I look over and I immediately snap to parade rest and scream out, Sergeant Major. And he's just standing there and he's looking, and the second plane comes around and hits the other tower. My phone started ringing, and this freaking Sergeant Major looked at me and he goes, "You better get that," and carried on to the freaking next room. And because of what I was doing at the time, I picked up that phone and I was told to get my ass to freaking um, into the office where we were already locked and loaded and securing our freaking compound. So it was go time from right then and there. Somewhere, um, there's going to be a multi-part thing because I'm out of time, but um, we'll get on part 2 next.